I'd like to call to order our January the 11th, 2021 Board of Education meeting for the Cedar Rapids Community School District. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that the agenda of Monday, January 11, 2021 Board of Education meeting be approved as set forth and that each item is considered ready for discussion and or action.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
This requires a roll call.
Director Anhalt? Is Director Anhalt still with us?
I think.
Okay, he must have disappeared. Director Borcherding?
Aye.
Director Garlock?
Aye.
Director Merschbrock?
Aye.
Director Newman?
Aye.
Director Tominski?
Aye.
President Humbles?
Aye. Tonight we have 4 public hearings for the sale of property for Hoover Elementary School, a sell a piece of property for Metro High School, roof improvement project, bid package number 1 for Harding Middle School, and the 2021-22 and 2022-23 school year calendars. Board Secretary Day, have we received any written correspondence related to any of the public hearings on tonight's agenda?
President Humbles and board members, we have not received any written correspondence regarding any of the 4 public hearings.
What I'd like to do is we'll take all 4 of the public hearings. We will invite to see if there's any public speakers that would like to address the board at all. And we'll combine all 4 of the public hearings together.
President Humbles and members of the board, we have no speakers that have registered to address any of the public hearings on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. We will now close our public hearings. Next, we'll have our superintendent's report. Superintendent Bush.
Good evening, and thank you, President Humbles, members of the board. Great to see you this evening. Have some great news to share, and just first and foremost would like to say Happy New Year to you in this year of 2021, as we certainly look forward to what it will bring for us, and hopefully it will be a little different than what we've experienced in 2020. I'm quite confident it will. I'm going to share my screen with you at this point in time and have some certainly good news and also some announcements to share on behalf of our school district. So indeed, Happy New Year. This was mentioned last month, but I just think it's so worthy of noting the great work of the professionals in our district, and our teachers are so committed to their profession. And here we're highlighting some of our professionals who have either recertified their national board certification or are newly certified national board certified teachers. And so you can see the picture in front of you, and the names are also included. I just think the visuals are fantastic to see these great professionals who have dedicated their time and effort for national board certification. And so I just want to say, on behalf of the school district, on behalf of the board, and our CREA union membership does a wonderful job in supporting these efforts. Just thank you to our teachers, and not just those national board certified teachers, but all of our professionals who have committed themselves, especially during this school year. And we look forward to the work ahead, but just congratulations to these members and all the work that they've done. Next, we have also pushed out via social media, and just want to extend an invitation to our community, to our families, to the members of Cedar Rapids Community School District. You'll see at the top of the screen, this is actually the Iowa Teacher of the Year. This is Mr. George Anderson, who is a Cedar Rapids Community School District teacher at Kennedy High School. And Mr. Anderson assisted in a social media invitation to our families, that we are definitely here for you. And this year has presented so many challenges, but our educators continue to find ways to support our kids. So we have options for them. And if you as a family haven't have thought about joining in-person learning, we want you to know that we're here for you, and we have that as an option for you. If you've chosen a homeschool option, we have our Cedar Rapids homeschool support system. We also have remote learning for our kids, and we have in-person learning for our students and our virtual academy. So if you're wondering and you're curious, or if it's just been a concerning year for you as it has for everyone, just know you can give us a call and we're here to support you. And that's certainly the message from Mr. Anderson on social media. We also have some nuances that other districts do not have in our magnet programs at the middle school and elementary level, and just want to make sure that our families know that we're here to support them, and would invite you to see that video that's both posted on our website as well as on social media. And great news, the derecho. Finally, I think we're going to have a punctuation mark of the restoration work in our district. Out of our 31 schools, we have one school left to open, and Kennedy will finally return next week. January 19th, we can finally offer in-person learning to our students. You'll see in this picture, that is Associate Principal Jessica Johnson. And I was thinking about her in this picture, which was featured in the Cedar Rapids Gazette, as well as all of our new employees. Jessica Johnson has returned to Cedar Rapids as Associate Principal at Kennedy High School. She had been away from our district for a few years, but has now returned to Cedar Rapids. And I was thinking, what a year to start a new job, to be new in our district. And we have teachers, we have bus attendants, we have paraprofessionals, we have custodians, and administrators who are new to their position this year. And here at Kennedy is 10 months ago is when they last had students in their building and instruction. And so Ms. Johnson hasn't even had an opportunity to have students in the hallway as a new employee at Kennedy High School. And so we look forward to Cougars returning next week, and certainly is a lot of hard work and planning, but she has led a lot of the restoration planning with the our buildings and grounds team, as well as a lot of the administrators, of course, and our teachers too. But just thanks so much for all the support to our community and the patience that you've had as our buildings have been restored. And we're very, very excited for the last one to open the doors next week. And that's all I have for you tonight. Again, look forward to 2021 and the work that continues for our district.
Thank you, Superintendent Bush. Are there any board reports?
President Humples, I do have something I would like to report on and share. And that is that the NSBA registration came out. I'm sure you all saw the email, that it's all going to be online this year, which is great. And there are some group rates, which is new. Having attended NSBA conference for all the years that I've sat on the board, I can just testify that there's fantastic information that's shared, and a lot of ability to learn something new and kind of apply it to information that you already have. So would strongly encourage any board member to consider attending.
Any other board reports?
Yes, President Humbles. I just wanted to share what I hope is some hopeful news at the start of the year. I met back in October with the Safe, Equitable, and Thriving Grant Committee for the Safe, Equitable, and Thriving Fund. And I just wanted to share an update on some of the programs that are now getting off the ground at the start of the new year here. The fund was awarded, I think, over $400,000 in this past year, which was a significant increase from the first year that the fund was in place. And when we met in committee, we had many great applications, but it was a learning experience for all of us because we were asked to focus on a new strategy with the programs that we chose. And that strategy is called group violence intervention. I'd just like to read about that here real quick from the Community Foundation's press release on this. It was developed by the National Network for Safe Communities, and the group violence intervention, or GVI model, reduces group violence by focusing on those who are very high risk for violent victimization, which is usually an extremely small percentage of any given community. By concentrating on those individuals and coordinating the efforts of key stakeholders, law enforcement, social services, and community-based groups, the model interrupts the cycle of violence and retaliation. And so we focused on that when we chose our programs to fund. And at the end of the day, we chose 5 programs to award grants to. And there's kind of casting a wide net of different types of programs to get this off the ground and see where it goes moving forward to try to make a difference. One focusing specifically on the Wellington Heights neighborhood, one done throughout Foundation 2 here in town. They were looking to expand for a specific program officer for this type of work, and one through Tanager Place, which I think was one of our highest scoring ones in the committee, specifically focusing on young women and helping them in their role in the community. And so those are some of the programs, and I just saw on KCRG the other day, they were talking about one of these programs, and so hopefully we'll be hearing a lot more and seeing some results from these over the course of the year. But I just wanted to let you guys all know a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Director Merschbra. Any other board reports? Next, we will move on to communications, delegations, and petitions. We'll invite our public speakers to address the board, and I'd like to remind those who have requested to speak to the board to state your name and address for the record when called. You will be given up to 5 minutes for your remarks. Board Secretary Day will serve as your timer and inform you when your time is up. Additionally, in order to abide by the open meeting law, I'd like to remind the speakers that there will be no dialogue between the board members and the public during this time, except to clarify the nature of the questions or comments from the individuals speaking. Secretary Day, will you call our first speakers?
President Humble, members of the board, this evening we do not have any speakers that have registered to address you.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to our consent agenda. Are there any items that a board member would like to pull for comment, question, or separate vote?
President Humbles, I need to pull an agenda item BA-21-193 for separate vote due to a conflict of interest.
Okay.
President Humbles, I would like to pull BA-21-006/04 for just a comment. And that is regarding the Food and Nutrition Fund Participation Report. When you look at the grab and go breakfast and lunch out of high school, there aren't any numbers representing there. And I just want to make clear to public that that doesn't mean that there aren't high school students that are participating in that program. That's because those locations do not have a grab and go location for which them to get the services. But I just think it's important for us to be clear that all students are welcome to participate in that program. I just wanted to be clear there that we do have high schoolers that are participating. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Director Borcherding. What I would like to do is do our separate vote on BA-21-193. I'm on communications, so I would need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
Abstain.
Abstain. I'm sorry. Abstain.
That's me.
Okay. Thank you. Now we will move back to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we vote on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion at all? This requires a roll call.
Director Borcherding,
Aye.
Director Garlock,
Aye.
Director Newman,
Aye.
Director Merschbach,
Aye.
Director Tominski,
Aye.
Director Anhalt,
Aye.
President Humbles.
Aye. Next, we'll move to board governance. Next on our agenda is the legislative advocacy activity and the recent district-hosted legislative forum. Director Garlock, would you like to provide an overview of the board's effort? And thank you, too, for putting this all together.
Thank you, President Humbles. Yes, I'll give a quick overview of what happened on Saturday during our legislative forum. First off, thanks to Superintendent Bush and all of the district staff that took time Saturday morning to join us and talk with legislators and the community. I believe we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 in attendance, which I think is excellent. For the folks who weren't with us on Saturday who might be listening in now, basically the format was that Superintendent Bush did an overview of the current financial situation here for the Cedar Rapids Community School District. That information is available publicly. If anyone is interested in that, that can be made available to them. Basically, the fact sheet that the district came up with shows the combined financial result of the pandemic, derecho, the enrollment decline that was associated with that. And basically, in the end, in order for us to avoid a budget guarantee, we would require a 4.8% SSA, which is the supplemental state aid. We broke out into smaller groups. Each group had a legislator present and a school board director, although we were there simply as observers, not participants, and had really, I think, at least in my group, really good discussions of education issues and how they relate to legislative activities. Some of the highlights that came out of that centered around school funding. As I just mentioned, 4.8% SSA would keep our district, would prevent us from budget guarantee. We also had, I think, numerous discussions in small groups about our employees and safety, making sure that they have access to the vaccine as soon as that is available. Early childhood, we all know, is a critical factor that influences kids' success in school. Mental health, as we recover from the pandemic and derecho and all of the disruption that our families have had, our staff has had, that also is a priority. And making sure that all kids and families have internet access and the technology to access that. So I think we had a really good discussion. I would maybe throw out to the board here just some questions about what comes next for us as a board. I think Superintendent Bush and the administration has done a wonderful job of outlining where we're at as a district. So one of the things, a couple things that we might want to consider would be, as a board, making a similar request to education committee members in the state legislature, both in the Senate and in the House. Superintendent Bush put together a really nice document for the community to use to email legislators. I think we could use some of that same information that was in that document and just reinforce with our legislators that this is what we need in Cedar Rapids to keep the district strong and healthy. So that would be one idea. A second idea would be maybe to take similar statements and submit them to the Gazette so that a wider audience in our community understands the situation here in the district. So I would be open to any or both of those and would be more than happy to pursue those if that's something that we want to do. I don't know, President Hummels, can we have an open discussion about this right now, or?
I'm sorry, I had to turn, yes, we can. I'm sorry, I was shaking my head and I said, I probably should turn my mic on. Yes.
So, yeah, any thoughts about next steps?
Director Garlock, I would like to comment. Thank you so much for organizing the forum. It was very helpful. Again, I would like to encourage anyone in the community that would like to send the letters that Superintendent provided the template for to contact. You can contact me and I will get you a copy of that template if that's something you want to do to be directly active as community members to support public education. In addition, Director Garlock, to what you had said about a letter coming from the board to go to members of the education committees of both the House and the Senate, I think there is value in seeing if we can have some joint messaging happening, not only coming from our district, but coming from other districts, possibly those that have representatives and senators that sit on those education committees. If we can get some combined messaging there to so that we're asking for the same thing, so that also when people that are sitting on those committees are hearing it from their constituents. I think some combined messaging and there's always more progress, I think, when you have the numbers to support it. So I would be interested in also doing that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the pieces of data that we all saw recently, that it's like about 2/3 of the districts in Iowa have a declining enrollment this year. So it's not just a Cedar Rapids situation.
Director Garlock. Again, I appreciate, this is Director Anholt, appreciate the putting this together. I found the comments from the staff, the session that I was listening into, to be most valuable. And as we're looking at advocating, first of all, one of our problems is that I think our local legislators, most that were in attendance and most of our local representatives understand and are very supportive of our system. It's reaching out to some other legislators, and I think the Education Committee is certainly a good start. I would like to see, I hear from legislators that the personal stories really seem to have an impact. And I'm wondering if there's a way that, I know the couple of teachers that I sat in on, their comments, if we could get somehow a brief 1-minute video clip or something of them just talking about, one talked about teaching remotely and the difficulty it was teaching remotely, but she was gallantly working to be as successful as she could. And the other one was a teacher that was teaching face-to-face, but we're hearing right now, well, how are we doing with student success? And she said that because of smaller classes, her face-to-face students she's seen progress. She's seen more progress than normally she would expect to see. So I think those are good comments. One, particularly to have more funding to allow for smaller class sizes certainly would be advantageous for student achievement. So I don't know if we're talking with some of our communication people at the district, if there's something that they can orchestrate too, or even if we could help with, or the individual teachers could help, and we could send those clips to the education committee.
Okay,
Thank you, Gary.
good ideas, Gary.
Director Anhart, I'm sorry, Anhalt. And I sit in on Gary's, we were in the session together, and it was nice to hear the teachers talking about and the hard work that they are doing. I think that's a plus. I like the personal story to add that touch to the letters, because then I think people, they really understand. So I learned a lot in the session. And once again, to Director Garlock, I learned a lot. It was a lot of information, and I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Any other?
Director Garlock, I would also like to comment that I think last year, Superintendent Bush, you had put together a one-page kind of telling our district story sheet that we took when we went to lobby, our day on the Hill, to lobby for public education. I think that was really helpful information to have on a one-page document that talked about why we're asking for the funding that we need. It talks about the initiatives that it supports. It talks about programming. It talks about our different populations of students that benefit from funding in a different way. I think that would also be helpful to include in any approach, just so that we can give a very clear reasoning behind why we are saying 4.8%.
Certainly, we did include a one-pager from the documentation on Saturday. However, that was specifically about declining enrollment, as well as the efforts for because of pandemic costs that we've had to put forth, technology specifically. What it didn't highlight, which last year's one-pager highlighted, was a lot of our efforts from mental health and a social-emotional point of view. So absolutely, we could add some of those components to that one-pager. You bet.
Any other comments?
Just to add, the legislator that I was in for the breakout session certainly appreciated the opportunity to connect with the community and the district staff and the board, and seemed very interested in not having this just be a one-time thing, but to continue to do these types of opportunities to get the community together. So we've got some new legislators that are in office. So I think the more that they hear from their community, the more that they're going to benefit from it. Again, just echoing what other people have said, to Director Garlock, just appreciate your leadership in putting this thing together. Definitely feel like everybody got a lot out of it. I think people were happy with the turnout. And again, I think that if we consider doing this more often, I think we'll continue to see good turnout. And then I also appreciate Dave Nicholson just adding a lot of color, like he was in the group that I was in. And just anytime dollar signs are in the conversation, it's always good to have your insight, really helping people understand what that SSA means and the impact that would have on something like property taxes if it's significantly lower than where it needs to be. So appreciate that.
I'm always we're a little uncertain of the timeline of legislation in Des Moines. So I think, excuse me, I might advocate for us this week trying to send out an email to the education committees, based on the information that Superintendent Bush provided to us on Saturday. And as we gather more information and perhaps these personal stories, that we can also send those later. I think right now at the beginning of the session is a really critical time to let the education committees know what we need before they start getting deep into their discussions. So I can certainly draft an email, and I'll share that with all of you before we take any further action.
Thank you. That would be great,
Okay.
Director Garlock.
I do have just a couple other very quick things. Just a reminder that the IASB Lobby Day is coming up on January 21st. In the past, some of us went to Des Moines and then talked to our legislators. It's obviously virtual this time, but that's on the 21st. There's a training for that on the 19th, and you can find that on the IASB website. And also, just a reminder, the governor's state of the state and condition of the state is tomorrow at 6 p.m.
And I'd also like to remind folks too, we recorded the forum for those that missed it. So it is recorded. Where would that be located at, Secretary Day?
I have that available if someone would be interested.
Okay, so if someone is interested, it was recorded too. Thank you all. Now we're going to move to learning and leadership. Deputy Superintendent Quaker and Director Riedstrom. We are looking forward to tonight's remote learning presentation. Please proceed and introduce our guest.
Thank you, President Humbles and Board of Directors. Really excited for this opportunity, so thank you for allowing us to be here. I want to first give a really big round of applause. Basically, Ryan Riedstrom has been working with elementary remote learning since the start of this. He actually started with middle school remote learning as well. Justin Blitz has now taken on that role. So they're acting as basically the administrators for remote learning, in addition to, of course, building levels providing that support as well. But those are just really heavy lifts they've taken on, and really appreciate all their hard work. We also, of course, have a large sum of remote teachers, and I always look at myself and think I have a hard time facilitating meetings with adults remotely. So really impressed that these teachers can teach remotely, do all the things that can do, and I'm really excited about their presentations tonight as well. I want to start by giving a little bit of an overview of data for the district currently. So if you want to look at that top and that pie chart, currently in the district, we have about 24.6% and about 4,000 students that are doing remote instruction. We also have another about 600 students, 3.7%, that are doing the CRVA remote instruction, which is not our teachers in our curriculum, but the Edgenuity, and they're kind of going at their self-paced learning. So the other, of course, 71.7% are doing that in-person learning. If you look at the remote learning also in grade levels below that, you can see kindergarten, and then it increases a little bit. And as the grades go up in elementary, we have more remote learners and the older the grades get. And then middle school age, we have all the way around in every grade around the 300 mark. And then in high school, which looks different as the hybrid, we have 200 and some identified in each of the grade levels. Then the next column over, the CRVA, if you add the middle school, we have 274 middle school students currently in our CRVA program, our virtual academy, and 325, which again totals 599 students. So there are quite a few students and families in our district that have chosen remote instruction at this time. Again, these teachers have been doing some amazing work. We have 4 of them here with us tonight. So we are going to hear from Bridget Castelluccio, who is a 4th grade remote instruction teacher, also just recently received her board certification. So she will start with us shortly, but how exciting. And I can't wait to see some of the things behind her more closely that she'll be showing us. We have Chris Frye, who's 6th grade social studies, Noelle Taylor, who's at Jefferson High School as a science teacher, and then we have Nicole Schultz, who's been doing CRVA language arts. So you're going to get a step inside of their world for just a couple minutes for each of them tonight. We're going to start with Bridget, and then in the end, you'll have an opportunity to ask some questions of the teachers, and also Ryan's on and myself or whoever else to help you get even a closer look at what really this remote instruction looks like this year for our kids. So Bridget, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. So Bridget Castelluccio, fourth grade remote. In person, I was at Kenwood Leadership Academy. And this year I have students from Kenwood and Garfield together. And so welcome to my classroom, because my classroom is in my home and in my basement. So you are in my classroom and you are all invited to join. My students were thrilled that we got the opportunity to present to you. So the morning silly smarties and the afternoon prodigies would like to thank you for this opportunity as well, because it's about them. So I am not new to tech and using devices in the elementary classroom. I have been fortunate enough through various Cedar Rapids Foundation grants and tech grants had one-to-one technology in the elementary classrooms for the past 9 years. However, taking it to the remote world has been quite the new challenge for me. And thinking about engagement and learner responses and measuring their success, as well as doing it when I can't reach over and just say, just press that button or do this, click here, has been a huge learning curve, even for someone at my tech level. So, but I've embraced it. And one of the things that really has been helpful with my fourth graders is I gather their feedback. And I'm like, we're going to try this and we're going to try this. And every single day when we try something new, their feedback and the observations of the engagement and how successful we are with learning has just really, really strengthened what we're doing each and every day in our learning environment. We do high tech and low tech. Our favorite new game is called Bottoms Up. So we have been playing that for the past couple of days. It's basically when you're sitting down, if I have a like 3 times 2 equals 6, bottoms up, if that's correct. So we're doing ups and downs, but I also really try to think about tech tools that can give them their voice. Some students chat on remote learning just like they would chat in the classroom, and there's those quieter folks. So we do emojis in the chat. We do in Google Meet, we have the hand raise. We do a lot of movements and body motions to be able to make sure that all students are sharing voices. Scavenger hunts are also a great thing. Find 5 things that you can use to divide with today. Traditional whiteboards. So the one thing I've known is that everything that I did in person technology has a new twist remotely. And the kids are really enjoying learning that and leading that with me. IT tech departments need to watch out because my 4th graders feel like they can take care of any tech glitches. They got this. So they're teaching me and themselves some skills that we never would have had the opportunity. And so it's just, the quote says it all. They love breakouts for small group learning. They love the no tech, they love the high tech. And again, their feedback just guides everything that we do with the activities and the technology. And that really has inspired and empowered them to become more actively engaged. And I think the hope spot and the heart spot for me is when they say, what, class is over already? Or they want to stay on. I actually have to get them off. They want to stay 10 to 15 minutes later than class. And I let them come in 10 minutes early just to have that time with me and with each other. And so while it's been a challenge, it's been a huge success and they feel a huge part of a classroom community, and that's my hope for them. And you're all invited. So I'm the only Castelluccio, Bridget Castelluccio, I'm easy to find. So they would love some guests. So come on our way.
I guess according to the slide, I'm next. Here we go. My name is Chris Frye. In the building, I teach 6th grade social studies at Harding. I taught 6th grade social studies and 7th and 8th grade social studies at McKinley for a number of years. But now I find myself to be an instructional design strategist, an IDS, except I was pulled like days before the school year started and said, hey, guess what? You're teaching remote. And so for me, I think it was really important that I had always really tried to build relationships with kids in the classroom. And my first concern was like, whoa, this is going to be weird. Like They are not here. Like, I'm teaching through a screen. And so I found that one of the things was that all the tricks and things that I've done in the classroom work in the remote. They just work slightly differently. Like the little comments and questions you can make to a kid when they come into class and they're a little bit early into your classroom, your physical space. You can still do, you just do it in a different way. Like we use GoGuardian chat all the time. And kids are regularly messaging me through that with either questions or just stuff. Like the other day, a kid said, "Hey, Mr. Frye, I just wanted you to know that my dog, we had to put my dog down." And like those little kind of moments that you can make connections, even in the virtual, strengthens that relationship. So then when I ask them to do things like give me the cause and effects of the Warring States period in ancient China, they don't balk at me and say, "I'm not doing that." Because in the long run, we kind of are like, as teachers, we kind of are insurance salesmen. We're selling something to a buyer that doesn't know that they need it yet. And so everything that we can do to make the connections with that buyer, or in this case, our kids, is really important. So like greeting them every single time when they come into a Google Meet, and that's one of the reasons why I have 3 monitors, because I got the Meet on one of them. So I always know when kids are coming and going because I can see them show up. We have a thing that my 4th hour started, that every Friday, what we do at the last 5 minutes of class is everybody turns their cameras on, and we all choose the same background. So we choose the same Google Meet background. We take a picture every Friday. And so then I post it on the stream for my Google Classroom class. And so that we go back and look and see all the different kids. And, for birthdays, we choose, the confetti, or, we always choose something different, but it binds us together in this weird kind of physical way that we can't be because we're in this digital world. But those relationships that I did not think I was going to be able to develop teaching from my basement has certainly happened. And like, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for that. I mean, that's the reason why I continue to teach, is those relationships you build with kids. So it can be done. It's a little wonky at first, but so far, halfway through the year, like I really feel like these are my kids, just like I would in a physical space.
Hi, my name is Noelle Taylor, and as Nicole said, I am at Jefferson High School, and I'm actually in the physical building, so that's a little bit different. I am teaching students remotely and in person simultaneously. And I was going to talk to you a little bit today about a discussion board that I use with my AP students that is a whole heap of fun. So this discussion board is called Packback, and students post to this discussion board every week. And what's really cool about Packback is that it is moderated by artificial intelligence. And so as students are typing, it can actually provide some feedback. So on the screen, you see an example of one of my students' questions that they posted on Packback. And it allows them to really be themselves. And I think the thing that I enjoy most about this platform is that it really does truly belong to my students. It's not mine, it's theirs. It allows them to explore topics that interest them. It builds a common language, a set of experiences in a classroom community. And it does that all in despite of kind of the disconnection of the year and kind of the bumpy start that Jefferson had between not in building and in building and not in building and back and forth. So as I also try to gather a lot of feedback, and one of my students said about Packback, I actually really like it, despite him thinking it was stupid at first. It's kind of a fun challenge, not only to think of a good question, but also one that satisfies the AI wishes. I really like how it applied in this class, but I'd like to see it used for other classes. That is unfiltered high school student telling you what they really think about it. I know it's my Saturday morning fun reading. Some of the favorite conversations that's come up over the course of the semester on our discussion board is, how can we make fasteners like screws and nails more effective by increasing friction? Why does time only run forward? How are some objects harder than others? Like, why do I not fall through my seat? How does a vehicle come to a stop faster when its tires are rotating rather than locking when driving on ice? So you can see these range from really very like cerebral to very practical and specific, and they get to choose what they talk about. As I look forward to next semester, I'm going to continue to use the Packback with my students, my AP Physics students, and I hope to expand it to my freshman study skills class. So I'm going to go from my advanced AP Physics students all the way down to my little freshmen. And so my goals for my freshmen are to build a stronger classroom community using this discussion board, as well as improving writing quality, since that provides feedback, that artificial intelligence provides feedback in real time. Also in questioning skills and critical thinking and communication skills. I do want to take this opportunity, just with all that being said, my AP students and their amazing Packback discussion board, I don't know if it's a typical example of the high school online learning. It's a really bright spot in kind of a tough situation. We faced a lot of challenges this year, and I have some concerns about what lies ahead for our students. However, despite each of these challenges, I take pride in each and every student's work. We've weathered a pandemic and a natural disaster, and despite all of those things, we make movement forward, and I see that movement each day, and I'm very proud of my students and the work that they've done this year.
Hi, I'm Nicole Schultz. I am the middle school teacher at the Cedar Rapids Virtual Academy. This is my 25th year in the district, and I have never done anything like this before. So thank you for letting me come tonight. I appreciate it. New experience. So I thought I would speak to the different ways that I'm connecting with my students at the Virtual Academy. We have a little bit of an extra challenge in that we don't have a set schedule for kids because they're using the platform Edgenuity to kind of self-pace and go through their coursework on their own. So we have to come up with a lot of different ways to reach the kids, because I think it's very important that they have a face to the name. So I do as much as I can. My main message for the kids and their families is that they're not alone. We're living in this virtual world, and I think a lot of times they just feel like they're out there on this island. So I've done as much as I can to try to create that bridge, or bridge the gap there with them. So I do a lot of frequent check-ins, probably more than they want me to. I'm always kind of in their face. I do the normal emailing and phone calls, just like everybody. Lots of text messaging with parents or guardians. A lot of them like that way to kind of keep in touch. But with the kids, I do a lot of Google Meets. So again, it's kind of the face-to-face, as other teachers have mentioned tonight. I do Google Hangouts, which is kind of a quicker way to communicate with the kids. And then I've done actually snail mail postcards sent home just to kind of touch base with kids. So throughout my week, I have scheduled open Google Meet times, again, like I know other teachers do. But again, because we don't have that scheduled time, the kids can just drop in whenever they want, ask questions, get help. But I'm finding that this is the time that they just kind of want to chat. They want to see each other, and they want to see me, their teacher, and they just want to talk, which is fantastic. You know, we use that time. It's also kind of earmarked then for times I do a lesson outside of Edgenuity, where I do some remediation or some extension activities with them, which they really seem to enjoy. I also have an advisory group. Each of the teachers have been assigned a certain number of kids. I have 6th and 7th graders. And we meet once a week. It's kind of a homeroom sort of feel to it, where I give them information. But then I kind of open it up, and we end up playing games. It's kind of a bonding kind of time for us. As someone else mentioned, we do scavenger hunts. They love scavenger hunts. I had no idea I would have to come up with these things, but they love the scavenger hunts. But we've done Pictionary and charades, and it's pretty fun, and it's great to see the kids interacting with each other and me. So really enjoy that. Lastly, though, I have appointments and just individual one-on-one appointment times with kids, where I either set up the appointment or I have a calendar that they can go to. This is where they can, again, get one-on-one help with their coursework from Edgenuity. And so during this time, we'll go over the questions, we'll go over the quizzes, the tests, whatever. But I've learned that with this one-on-one time, this is really when I've gotten to know the kids. And, after a while, you start meeting with them enough, you can kind of gauge how they're feeling that day. And so, you kind of pick up on their voice. And if it's kind of been a rougher day, you just stop the work and you go, hey, what's going on? What'd you do this weekend? Whatever. So just really, really trying to create those connections with kids because this is hard. And so always looking for new ways to connect with the kids, connect with their families in these social and emotional ways. Because this year's been really tough, as we all know. So I feel it's really important. It's always important, but this year especially. So thank you.
I was going to ask, are there any questions or comments for any of our presenters? I would like to say, Bridget, I would be more than willing to visit your class. Seeing that you guys are doing some great things, that we're keeping our children engaged. I've learned a lot tonight, so I commend you guys. Yes, things have changed for us, but you guys are moving our students along. So I thank you for that and for presenting tonight because I really learned a lot. And I am serious, Bridget. Give me a call. Okay. Any other comments or questions for our presenters?
This is Director Newman. I'd really just like to say thanks for your adaptiveness and your nimbleness in working to create relationships and space for these kids. My daughter had Mr. Frye for social studies, and I don't know if you turned feudal games into something online or not, but that's a legendary thing that they used to do, at least back when my kids were in school. And
We're doing it right now.
You're doing it right now. That's so awesome. I just really, it's so important that they have a sense of normalcy, and that even though this normal is so, not normal, that they have that. So thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it. I think we all really do.
Yeah, you guys all are awesome. We appreciate all the work you're doing. Great work. Thank you.
I would like to comment that when I first started substitute teaching and I kind of got to know teachers, and when I was involved on PTA, I don't think I've ever met a group of professionals that are more creative than teachers. And I think it's just so amazing that you've used that skill and found a way really to connect with students and to help us as a district forward our goals. So I just want to thank you so much for that. I do have a question. Since you're kind of using these new innovative practices, I'm wondering if there's been any notes taken and any thoughts given to how it could change instructional practices in the future.
One of the things, so I've been doing a lot of thinking about that, hopefully next year being in person, and going completely digital has really changed the way I think that I can have students interact with information, because most of the time, like since I teach social studies, I'm limited in terms of what I can put on a page in a classroom setting without a device. But now with devices, it opens it up for a lot more exploration. So if I ask questions about like the author's reliability, it used to be I had to kind of give them this little note that kind of gave them some hints and they could work with it. But now, since they can access the internet, they can begin to do some of that research on their own without me spoon feeding them the right amount of material to be able to answer that question. So I'm planning on next year to be 100% paperless if I can. I'm going to give it a try because, I mean, this year I'm not getting any papers at home. So I'm going to see if I can do that in the actual classroom setting because I think it's definitely possible. And then the kid can never say, I don't know where my homework's at. I'm like, it's on your device.
I think that's great practice. And I'm sure our green team loves hearing that you're going to try to go paperless next year too. So thank you for that.
I'll be very honest. I love paper, just a little bit of paper, not a lot, but the things that we do in our classes, paper is super useful. I actually hugged my phone out of it. So I apologize.
There's a couple of things that I've noticed with working with our team and our teachers that I hope to see continue because they offer voice and choice and empower students to choose their own path, which is part of our mission and vision. The idea of choice boards or playlists or hyperdocs on where we have the skill or the standard in which we want the student to get to, but how they get there and how they choose to understand, show, represent, and communicate what they know, understand, and are able to do. I think our teachers have had to really think outside the box because some of them have asynchronous time, and that's where students, it's on-demand learning. And so they have to offer multiple choices. So that's something that I hope to continue to see either in station rotations within the elementary world or in those 40-minute blocks in the middle school and the high school level. So we'll see how that goes into teaching and learning next year as we develop lesson plans for the future.
I think without question that COVID has changed. When we go back to quote whatever a normalcy be, it will not be the same. I think as a result of what we've gone through, we're going to find that education will look different as a result of it. It's been a learning process, I believe, for us. And for all of the staff remotely, the comments about getting the personal connection, I think is just so important. Unless it's a basis, it's a foundation for really connecting with students. You have to develop that relationship. And I think with everything that's going on in this world right now, having those relationships are so important for our students. So thank you all staff for your efforts to try to maintain and keep those connections.
And I was listening to Director Anhaltek. I was thinking about tools in a toolbox. And one of the things that I think that we've been forced to do this year is to retool our toolboxes. And so the question was like, what will we carry forward? And I think it will allow us, like this experience will allow us to pull some of those best practices forward that we were forced to make those hard, like invest that hard work at this time, like take those things forward that we found really work or flexible for children, and those different things I think will be really, really useful in our future toolbox.
I would just like to comment and thank all staff for when considering our strategic plan and our focus of student learning, for really focusing on how to be successful with that, especially using our digital literacy and technology plans and programs. Again, the flexibility and the innovation is inspiring, and it's great. I love that the practice is growing and that you all are thinking of new and innovative ways to help us be successful in those areas. So thank you.
I have a quick question on back to the beginning of the presentation when you were talking about the numbers enrolled in CRBA. And, you know, when we sent those communications out, it was pretty much made clear, like this is a longer term choice versus you're just doing virtual right now. Do we anticipate those numbers to drop significantly when school is fully returned, or do you think that they'll, you know, be somewhere in the neighborhood of where they're at right now?
I see Nicole give me a look, so I'm happy to jump in. We have surveyed our current families, and the response is about 50% of them indicating they'd like to continue in the virtual academy. And then we've had other interest from grade levels we don't necessarily currently have. And so our projections right now are around 400 students in the virtual academy next fall.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm going to just jump in for a moment, President Humbles. I said this earlier today to Deputy Superintendent Quaker. And there's truth to it. I say I'm not really a competitive person, but that might be a bit of a fib when it comes to our teachers. Our teachers, hands down, I would put them up against anyone in the nation, that they are phenomenal in what they've accomplished this year. And so I have never been more proud to be a public educator, witnessing what our teachers in Cedar Rapids Community School District have accomplished this year. So thank you for presenting tonight. What you've done is nothing short of Herculean. And I, from the bottom of my heart and from all administrators in this district, we see it, we know it, and nothing is more important to student learning than the teachers in front of them in the classrooms and on the screen every day. So I was verklempt the whole time when you were talking. I'm getting choked up right now. I just thank you for speaking on behalf of your colleagues, and thank you for what you do every day. It's been incredible. So bravo, bravo. We are better than everybody.
Yes. Let's give it a clap here. Thank you.
Not competitive at all, are you, Noreen? Not competitive at all. So.
We actually
Say it
argued
now.
about that for a while today. So yes, I have to say thank you too. It's just amazing what you as teachers are doing. And thank you so much for taking additional time to come on and present and answer questions. Really appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you.
Director Merschbrock, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, my question was for the Deputy Superintendent, just about the number of students choosing virtual and CRVA by grade. It seems pretty clear that the middle schoolers were choosing remote at the highest levels. Is there, and I guess this maybe is coming from some of the survey data as well, but is that kind of just, are those kids in a transition coming out of elementary and then before high school? Is there any reason why we might be seeing that? And is it anything to explore further, I guess, with CRVA in the future as an option for middle schoolers, not just in our district currently, but, all around this community and in the state?
Those are great questions. Thank you for asking those. It hasn't been across the state that middle school has a larger amount. It has typically been as students get older and can usually, manage their time better, that there's more remote learners. So kind of surprised by that, but I think it's also somewhat of the models and the differences that we have in our system currently. I do not know that for a fact, but just based on some of the parent feedback and reading into that, the elementary experience right now, look, yes, we wear masks and safety protocols and there's less students, but it feels like elementary school, whereas the middle school, due to safety and cohorting and making sure students aren't mixed, it doesn't feel as much like a middle school. So they're still in person, they still get to have those relationships, but they're not transitioning from class to class. So I think because of the difference of school, it's so different, the in-person, there's more taking on that remote opportunity. And then at the high school, the teachers are doing both at the same time, which is extremely tricky, and kudos to all of them to try to manage both at the same time. Because literally, when I try to manage a meeting doing both, I'm not very successful, and they're doing so with kids. So because of the different models and what we've had to set that up, because we've been focused on health and safety, the feedback we received is that's why we think we have the most middle school. They're old enough to kind of, like I said, manage their time and their learning. And yet high school still can choose, go back and forth, but really remote learning, in-person learning looks pretty similar for them currently.
Any other questions or comments?
More just a quick point of curiosity. When Kennedy goes back, will that affect our percentage of in-person learning drastically?
No, it will not. Just because, again, teachers are doing both at the same time, and the kids' learning experience, they can show up or not show up. I mean, we have it managed for safety numbers, but that's completely on the student and the family currently.
I just meant students choosing in-person versus, that's kind of already baked in there. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Any other questions? Once again, thank you for presenting, for taking time out of your schedule, presenting. We all learned a lot. We know our teachers are great. They're doing great work, so we thank you. We thank you all. Next, we'll move on to administration. Next is our annual resolution for the at-risk dropout prevention funding. Are there any questions for Nicole or David? If not, all those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, I'll turn our agenda item over to Superintendent Bush for an update on the district's return to learn plans.
Thank you, President Humbles. So as we transition into the second half of the year already, we did seek feedback from our families in December. Deputy Superintendent has already really reviewed some of that data with you tonight in regards to remote instruction. A few families chose a different path, but it wasn't a significant number that completely disrupted our system. I think we had 1 or 2 staff members that we had to shift back from remote instruction actually to in-person instruction. So as our plans continue, we continue to monitor our data. We're using those same metrics to make our decisions in regards to if there should ever be a need to transition to all remote instruction due to COVID-19 positivity rates. So we are watching that county data every single day and making sure that we're monitoring that. And so certainly there was a question recently about what if there's a rise in cases post-holiday season. This might be the week where we would potentially see results from that. We have stayed as a county in the 14% to 15% positivity rate over the past few days, and that's a 14-day average individual positivity rate. So we continue to use that data, and we monitor our employee absenteeism and making sure that we're doing whatever we can to make those plans. So it is a daily assessment, but right now we are still able to offer in-person instruction, and certainly for families who've chosen remote, we're in the remote environment. So looking forward again to bringing that last school on board in person next week, that being Kennedy. So that is the current state of return to learn plans for the district.
Are there any questions for Superintendent Bush?
President Humbles, I do have one. And by any chance, would you have any further information? I know teachers and educators are essential providers. Have you heard any inside information on the vaccine distribution to our staff?
I would say there's no inside information, it's just the information, which is that the county and the state of Iowa has certainly received some of those vaccinations, and they have a tiered approach of the distribution of those vaccinations. The distribution or the quantity has certainly slowed down a little bit, I think, from the onset of early December to now. But there are tiers, and so on Iowa Department of Public Health website, they have explained what those tiers are. And first tier, of course, being the residential living, certainly for our most elderly population, as well as healthcare providers, and then some of the first responders, of course. And there's tiers to it. There is a 1A and then there's a 1B. 1B defines further essential workers, which would include police officers and firefighters. There is a long list of folks, including some essential employees, and educators are within that list. list, but it doesn't designate which people within the education system become first, second, third, et cetera. So I would say it's a ... We're not there yet, but there seems to be more information forthcoming, and I would say in the coming weeks. And we will work with Lynn County Public Health as that information becomes available. There's no plan yet for vaccination distribution to schools in our county.
Any other questions?
Just a question. So that a lot of talk about 100% option. I know that we already have that at the elementary and middle school level. Right now it's a hybrid at the high school level. Are we seeing that push? And that's just confirming that's not going to be a requirement. It's just going to be an option that's available. Is that correct?
I would hand that over to Deputy Superintendent Quaker.
So at this time, we're planning on that still remaining to be an option and continuing, unless situations change. So if students prefer to stay home for their learning currently because of the pandemic and safety reasons, we plan on educating that same way currently.
Anyone else?
So I would just like to comment that from the position of oversight, I just am satisfied with the return to learn plan. In policy, we've designated our superintendent to be the person that is coordinating the management of the plan. I think that stakeholders are constantly, there's constant communication between Lynn County Public Health. There's been opportunities for feedback from staff, from students, from families, and those have been taken into consideration with the plans, and I very much appreciate that. Looking at the framework for this return to learn, I think there's a lot of opportunity there to provide ongoing innovation, again, in practice, kind of what we discussed a little bit previously when the teachers were presenting. I'm wondering if there are any plans, again, for us to kind of further the avenues for delivery on student learning, on staff development, and other areas.
I'm smiling with Deputy Superintendent Quaker. We've been having a lot of these discussions recently and are planning some facilitated conversations. I think we're going to do a collaborative with, we did in October a huddle up with CREA leadership, our teachers union leadership and admin, just to talk about what's working, what's not working with return to learn. I think now what we would like to do is a future forward conversation, a question that was asked earlier of our teachers. What could we surface here that we don't want to give up, that's been a result of this year, that we're like, we've learned from this and we kind of want to keep that, or that it's pushed our thinking to think differently. And it could be everything from structural designs and schedules to innovative instructional practice. So we're surfacing those conversations now on how to facilitate that. I know that the Office of Learning. Sorry, I'm on mute now. I'll turn it over to you, Nicole, for any additional comments.
Just to reiterate, I'm really excited about some of the conversations happening and taking what the teachers have learned and experienced as opportunities for the future. I do think the innovation and practice, there'll be some options for the next year, and we have some groups and teams identified to help start planning that so we can put that out to parents and families to hopefully draw even more students into the Cedar Rapids system. So lots of great minds around this, and really excited to share in the near future, hopefully, some of the innovative practices we'll have in place.
And I would like to, were there any other questions at all?
Well, back to the last comment, I would just like to thank you for the leadership in this. And it's so encouraging to hear that there are some forward thinking about innovation and practice. Just wondering from a governance standpoint and from a board standpoint, if there's anything we can do to help you be successful in that area.
I think the vision cast and coming back to our strategic plan, will be really great for us, especially for the next 6 months, and then revisiting what some of those strategies are. And we may have to shift, some resources from one thing to another thing, but I think we just don't know that yet. But that would be the piece, is keeping the vision and coming back to that strategic plan work I think will be really important for us, especially later this spring. But that will be what we'll really need from the board, is that continued vision work, especially when we think about resources and allocating resources.
I would like to thank you guys for giving us an update with our return to learn. That is helpful, and for folks to know what is happening within our district, and everyone is well informed. So I thank you for that information. Anything else before we move on to the next item? I want to make sure I don't cut anyone out from a question. Seeing none. As we adjourn our meeting this evening, we'd like to close in a moment of silence to recognize one of our staff members. I'll turn the meeting over to Scott Wing, who is our transportation manager.
Thank you, President Humbles. It is with a heavy heart to inform you that Dennis Primising has passed away. Dennis retired from ironworking, and after encouragement from some friends, became a bus attendant in August of 2018. Dennis loved his students, and I'd like to read a note penned by a mother from one of his students. I'm so sorry for your loss. Dennis was my son's bus attendant in the mornings. While he guided him to his seat, made sure he was in safe and tight, and watched over him so he could get to school safely every morning. This was my son's first year of preschool, and he is nonverbal. This can make it very difficult for a mother to send their child off with people she knows so little. Dennis made this so easy for my son, and after a short while, my son was running down to the bus because he was so excited to get on. I am sure Dennis was a part of this, and I cannot tell you what that means to a mama. Dennis touched my son's life and our whole family's life every day. He will be missed dearly. Sincerely, the Mixdorf-Rimmer family. Dennis is survived by his wife, Melanie, 4 children, 10 grandchildren, 2 siblings, and 17 foster children. As we observe this moment of silence in memory of Dennis Primising, let us remember the lives of the students and staff that he has positively impacted as employees of our school district.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to Dennis's family. He will truly be missed, and it was really an honor to hear a parent write about how Dennis was so important in her child's life. And that says a lot about who we are as a district. So my prayers go out to you and your family. And with no further business, we stand adjourned. Thank you all.